Welcome to the Key Wellbeing Podcast and our new series, Lunchtime Listens, where it's all about real clients, real employee wellbeing challenges, and of course, real expert advice. Let's get started. Hello to everyone tuning in to another bite-sized but jam-packed session with our experts. And today the topic is the need for leaders to be more human. So one of the main workplace wellbeing trends that we can expect to see this year is humanity, with business leaders shifting their focus towards developing relationships with employees, treating and communicating with them like people rather than numbers. And since we are all humans after all, we think it's about time, don't you? Today, we are joined by someone that, in our opinion, sets a prime example of what other employers, leaders, and managers should be doing, and that is being an open, authentic, and just genuinely real person. So I'm delighted to be joined today by the multi-talented Simon Clayton. Simon is an all-round marketing guru with many talents and many titles under his belt. Marketing, a leadership coach, trainer, mentor, author, and lecturer. And we're delighted to have him here to talk with us today about the importance of being human-centric in the workplace. So welcome to our podcast, Simon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to be here, great to take part. It's a busy time at the moment, so I can't complain. But I love these things. I love podcasts. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's our absolute pleasure to have you on. So these are short and sweet podcasts, as you know. So we're going to get straight into it. So I'm going to ask you a poignant question, and that is, why do you think it's important for leaders to be more human, open and honest, particularly about their own well-being? I see this a lot with your content that you put out. You try and bring the real and the raw and the honest, and I love it. But why do you think it's important for leaders to do that?
I think, firstly, it's all about, as a leader, you are setting an example. And I think, more than ever now, it's tough out there. It's tough in the workplace. And I think if you can present a more human side, people buy into that. People, I suppose, there's a lot more empathy, with your team and the people you're around. And we all want to be treated like humans. We're not robots. I think the old style of leadership where someone stands at the front and tells everybody what to do has long died. I think it is more about using people's skills, using people's experience and working together as a whole. And part of that is having that human presence, presenting that human image, which I think is so important. And we're seeing this at the moment with the large organizations, where people are getting a lot more freedom, a lot more autonomy to operate. And because of that, those organizations are doing well, and they're realizing the value in their people. And I think that's another point, in so much as for so long, when we sold our organization, we promoted our organizations, we always talked about our systems, our processes, our products, our services, and very rarely talked about our people. And more than ever now, we know that people make a business tick. People buy from people, as I'm always preaching. And for me, it's all about the human element. We buy from human people, or authentic people, as I say. So that's the real importance. And I say, as a leader, I think you've got to lead from the front and show that. That you're open and human.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really interesting point that you just said there. We used to, talk about our amazing systems and our efficiency, and look how great we are with all of our processes. And like, how funny when you think about it that we've only just brought the people element to the forefront.
Absolutely massive. I think part of that is, with products and services, we know exactly what we've got, and from marketing terms, you're selling your benefits and your features, and it's fairly easy to do that if you get it right. I think with people, it's really difficult unless you really understand the people around you and what their strengths and weaknesses are and their personalities and characteristics. It's really difficult to promote that. And again, that's a learning curve that we're seeing with more organizations now, where they are listening more to their people, trying to develop that understanding of who they are and what they want and what work means to them as well, which is really, really important. And, obviously the big shift at the moment is the Monday to Friday working pattern is changing. We've seen more hybrid working thanks to COVID, and I think that's given people more control over what they do and how they do it, and I say that authenticity, if you like, is much stronger now. So I think as long as we don't lose that, that's what's really important.
Absolutely. I don't really think it is going anywhere. To your point about things changing after COVID, workplaces definitely have changed. And those organizations that are reluctant to get on board, they've basically got a generation to figure it out. Because if you've got old guard thinking and old, ways of working in the institution, that's not going to last for many more decades. So
it's a funny thing, because I think it's about being flexible. And I was having this conversation with one of my clients a few weeks back, in so much as that they've got a diverse workforce in terms of ages. And this person sent me that actually some of our older workers are pleased to be back in the office working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I think it's an appreciation of all those kind of feelings that people have. If you've got people who prefer to be in the great, don't suddenly say that's it. No, from now on, work from home. It is just having appreciation of your people, and what makes them tick. We all know that people work to their best when they're kind of left to their own devices, left to run their own time. Obviously, you need some form of leadership and then some guidance, but ultimately, people work better like that. But if that means that you're used to working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and you're happier doing that way, great. That's how you'll perform in that environment. Likewise, if you're younger or you're not used to doing those kind of hours, mix it up. But I think you've got to be flexible at the moment, especially in terms of how you offer that. And again, that's understanding and listening to your people.
Yeah, and listening to the humans that are in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, putting the human back into HR, as we like to say.
Yes, I like that.
So on that then, so what would you say to those that are afraid to sort of show and be their full authentic selves, whether that be on social or whether it be in the workplace? I know that recently I posted about something about my spiritual side. I posted about I posted about tarot cards on LinkedIn, and I was a little bit scared. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, "Are you allowed to be spiritual and professional on LinkedIn?" I don't know. So, what would you say to people that are afraid to sort of show that side of themselves?
It's interesting because I get asked this question a lot. I talk a lot about personal branding, and obviously LinkedIn being a great tool, as you say. For me, it's the personal brand tool. But the question being that how much of ourselves do we have to give away on social media? How much do we have to show? And I think there's a very thin line between kind of opening up or showing enough that people can actually connect. And then there's the scale where you're literally showing everything. And, we just look at celebrities and, how, 1 minute they're doing this and it gets really messy. And I suppose that kind of authenticity quickly goes away because we know that, all right, this month this person's promoting that they're in this way, and so for me exactly, yeah. For me it's about, first of all, I always think about your persona. So we know as humans we carry different personas. We have a professional work persona. We have a persona at home, whether it's with our wives, husbands, children, we carry all these personas. And it's about understanding exactly, right, what does our professional persona look like? What are the kind of things that we're happy to share and the things we don't want to share? And almost setting those boundaries, if you like. And once we can do that, we can then feel more, I suppose, secure in how we share that online and how we share that within our professional lives. I talk about my mental health. I've struggled with mental health in the past, and I'm happy to talk about that. But I'm not somebody who wants to preach about it. I'm not somebody who's going to hang my hat on it and say, I know people do, and people do it really well, and I'm not condemning that. That's just within my persona. Happy to talk about it, but it's not something I'm going to kind of live by at the moment. Who knows what's ahead? So because of that, I've set that boundary. I understand, exactly where I want to go with that. And that's what I would suggest with a lot of people, is that part of that fear is the fear of losing control and saying too much. Well, if you actually sit down and think about, first of all, okay, what do I stand for? What does this professional persona look like? It makes it so much easier than to communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to pick up on a point that you mentioned there about mental health. So thinking about leaders sharing a bit more about their mental health. I think what you were saying there about not sharing too much, not becoming known for that, and that's fine. But also there's an element of it, I think there should be of leaders being open about the fact that, hey, I have physical and mental health too, just like you, just like my employees. So what do you think that leaders can gain from being a bit more open about that?
I think the first point I'll make is that sadly, in the UK especially, we still have this down on mental health, regardless of what we say. Personally, I feel there's a lot of box ticking. Oh yeah, we have a mental health policy, but do you actually live and breathe it? Do you actually go out there and help people, or is it just the case you got a piece of paper that's actually going to protect you in litigation? I think for it, there is a kind of an expectancy that if you are struggling, yeah, tell somebody, but let's not rock the apple cart. And I think that with a lot of that still exists. So I think ultimately it's got to come from the top first of all, regardless of it being a policy or a box ticking exercise. You've actually got to believe it. If you really value your people and you really value what they bring to your organization, remember that every one of us within an organization is a brand ambassador. So if we're enjoying our work, if we love what we do, and we're going to go out and tell the world, that could encourage more customers, more sales, more brand awareness, whatever it looks like. Yeah. When people are really fed up with work, they also go out there and tell people. So for me, it's about, it's got to come from the top. It's got to be about, understanding what people want. And if we have got mental, how can we help them? How can we support them rather than just saying, well, what's the policy and so forth. And I think from that, once that resonates down, once people believe in that, it becomes a lot more open and there's a lot more freedom in there to communicate. But I'll say this again, sadly, at the moment in the UK, I think there is still this, I want to say, macho image that anybody who suffers from mental health isn't up to the job, isn't up to the role. It is getting better, but I do still think we carry this sometimes. And this is not small companies, by the way. I'm talking about the bigger organizations as well, who struggle with this still. So unpopular opinion, I know, but that's
But
what
I
I see.
appreciate you bringing that real side to things. I'm very much trying to change things with Key Wellbeing. We are as a team, and we do come across that though a lot. And I want to pick up on your point there about it having to be lived and breathed if we decide something. There is literally no point in box ticking or getting a program in or running a workshop if we're not going to really try and change the culture and try and create an environment where it's easier for people to be well, as opposed to it being like an extra thing that I now have to take care of. Like, how can we create an environment where it's easier for us to do that?
Well, I think just an example, I suppose, going back to those larger organizations, can't get words out, those larger organizations, we are seeing titles like people manager, head of people. So there are organizations who are embracing that and realizing it's more than just a HR issue. It's actually, being there for our people and providing those environments that if people are struggling, or on the other side, if people actually want to climb and do better in their jobs, that door's open as well. So I think that there are changes happening, there are positives happening. But I think alongside that, it is about, being open and honest. The big thing about technology and the benefits it's brought, the huge benefits it's brought, everything moves so much faster. So our working days, we're putting so much more into them. So because of that, our brains are really struggling. So there is a point in which we will cut off, in which as a natural engine, the brain does cut off when it can't take anymore. Hence the reason why people, anxiety, depression, etc., etc. So we've got to protect ourselves in that, regardless of whether they believe in the concept of mental health and people, not being well. And so it's also the fact, well, hold on a second. What about our systems, our procedures, our policies, the actual way we do our business? That has to change as well in order to protect our workforce. If we're expecting, 50 odd emails a day to go out and people to do, it's just great. The human body can't take it anymore. So in that respect, even if that's part of this whole protection issue and policy issue, that's what I would say would move on.
Yeah, I think we're still trying to find our way a lot with that, aren't we? Yeah, technology has brought some great advancements, but just the way you were describing there about your brain not being able to take any more, I can definitely relate to that myself, despite the practices I have in place, despite what I'm trying to do to look after my own well-being, there is a point in the day where I actually can't take any more information in. I'm going to have to just do something mind-numbing, watch something on TV or whatever, or just, put a circuit breaker in and go for a walk, or just, it's just too much.
But it's true, isn't it? I suppose it's like a car, isn't it? If your car runs out of fuel, you need to refuel it. If your car, there's something wrong with the engine, you need to get it fixed. And yet, as humans, we think we're invincible. And I've been, I've been a victim of this myself, working long hours and thinking that I'm invincible, especially when I first started the business. You do work long hours, so you take that as part of the course, and all the great entrepreneurs say, well, you need to be working ridiculous hours, 7 days a week and all that rubbish. So exactly, yes, so you do buy into all that because that's the entrepreneurial life. But there is a point where you've got to stand back and say, okay, there's self-preservation here. There's got to be self-preservation. And we hear the term, work-life balance. It's like, yeah, well, why not? Let's encourage that. Let's ask that more. And why can't people work different hours during the day? Why can't people go for a nap in the afternoon? Why it's all these things that to some organizations, it's really scary. Oh my goodness, no, I want them here 9 to 5. That's changed. That's gone. The pandemic taught us all this, that's changed now. We can't go back to that old way.
Absolutely. And so I think it's about flipping that on its head to be life-work balance then, right?
Oh, I like that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. How can we approach it through that lens and potentially all be a little bit happier?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So on that then, we've talked a bit about organizations and policies and procedures and cultures. Let's bring it back to business leaders. And maybe if you've got some practical tips, I don't know if you've got anything that you want to share. So we're all about practicing what we preach here, and I know that you are too. So to the business leaders that are listening to this, do you have any top tips for self-care, for looking after ourselves?
I do. Got some just up my sleeve here. No, I do. Well, literally by what I put on myself, basically. So the advice I would give, and this comes direct from what I do, is number one, surround yourself with positive people. Whether that's, if you can get a mentor or a coach or just somebody you can go to and talk through. We all need somebody to talk, especially if times are hard or we're feeling challenged or we are feeling anxious, depressed. We need somebody to talk to and be open and honest with that person. So choose somebody you can trust. But yeah, feed off their enthusiasm, feed off what their experience, and switch the news off because, again, the media at the moment, the media for a long time has been in negativity overdrive, and it's never any good. So yeah, definitely surround yourself with positive people. Make time for yourself. Whether that is time during the day, whether it's first thing on the morning, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's reading a book, whatever it is, just make time for yourself to get yourself together and so forth. Again, we seem to run very busy lives. And I know especially, business leaders who maybe have younger families or, other things going outside of work. It's very difficult to put ourselves last. And for me, it's really important, as we mentioned before we started, I went on a massive health kick about 3 years ago, coming out of COVID. Suddenly realized that I was looking a bit heavy around the sides, around the gills. And I was just about to turn 50. And I thought, do you know what? I need to do something about this. And it's been the best thing I ever did. I got a PT, first of all, and it's been the best thing I ever did. So again, finding that time for yourself, where it's just some quiet time or somewhere you can go for a walk, or better still, get yourself to the gym, and get practicing some self-preservation.
Yeah.
And I think finally, keep self-educating. The brain is a very clever machine that it needs, and the soul, it needs food. And we've got to keep self-educating, whether it's something that we do as part of our daily jobs, roles, responsibilities, or whether it's something completely different. Get yourself a book or a podcast or an audiobook, whatever, and just keep self-educating, because that's wonderful for the soul. And it develops the mind and helps you see things from a very different environment, which could ultimately help you in your role with your people.
I love that. What a great, well-rounded answer. Some really good points in there. Definitely. Do you practice all of them yourself?
I try to. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, dead easy."
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think
I
I don't
try
think
to.
anyone does.
Yeah, I think that the big pressure at the moment is coming off Christmas. You do feel a bit, dare I say, sluggish. You're still in the kind of the Christmas routine, so it's proving challenging at the moment. But definitely getting to the gym.
Yeah, I want to pick up on on a post. I mean, I'm not sure when you're listening to this, people that are listening to this podcast, but it's January the 12th now, and Simon posted recently about the pressure of all the things. New year, new me. Improve yourself in this way. Get yourself to the gym. Dust off your gym kit. Like, what are you doing? But there's a lot of pressure, isn't there, at this time of year to like improve yourself and be better and all that.
Yeah, massively, massively. It's crazy to think. And I talk about a lot of this when I coach about the seasonality of the way in which organizations promote their products and services. And we've never got away from this. So we always know that the 1st of January, apart from the fact that every retailer is having a sale, we also know that every gym in town, is promoting the fact of getting healthy. Every nutritionist, fitness, it's a massive, massive industry. And I think also when you're already part of that, i.e. you go to the gym or you do stuff, you get bombarded even more how to better yourself than what you've been doing. So yeah, that always, and likewise, we see it kind of the amount of holidays we get offered and better lives. And obviously recruitment's a massive industry at the moment because everybody's looking for a new job. So it always amazes me how seasonal we are, but I suppose that's just part of the course scenery. But yeah, there is a bombardment of stuff at the moment, of messages, and you've just got to really kind of choose wisely, or better still, just switch off.
Yeah, particularly the news. I love your point earlier. Actually, that was one of the best things I've done. Try and remain somewhat current, but on my own terms when I want to check in with it. Yeah,
yeah. I think for me, we tend to believe the news a lot more than what we used to, which sounds crazy. And again, harking back to social media. And by the way, this is somebody who lives and breathes social media, so I see the benefits of it. I'm not trying to do a downer on it, but news is so constant now. It's constantly there now. It's not like the good old days where you turn on at 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock on the telly. It's constantly in your face. There is constantly news being piped through. And 99% of the time, it's negative news, because obviously negative news sells. So because of that, we get pulled into this vortex of this negativity, this negative news. And so I really try and cut back now on that negative. I switch the apps off, the news apps, switch those off. I'm very wary of where I hang out on social media during the day, just because it's that negative overdrive, no one needs it. And a lot of the time it's nonsense anyway,
And it can really just affect our perception of the world, right? If you know about 10 horrible things that have happened today, you're like, oh, well, the world sucks and like we're all doomed. But there's, 99 other great things that happen that you just don't know about.
This is the thing. And I think this kind of ties back in with everything that we've talked about so far. Is, for me, it's about living in the moment, living in the now. And the news reports on what they think is going to happen or what's happened. I have no control over what's gone behind me. And to some extent, I have no real control of what's in front of me. So at the moment, we're talking about recessions and, this and that, housing market, all this kind of nonsense. I have no control over that. So I can either worry about that and try and control it, or alternatively, I can try and control what I do and what I, how I see things, and take each day and each moment as it comes. And that's something that's really, it's difficult to kind of get in that mindfulness state and, the mindfulness buzzword, but it does work. And if we can actually bring ourselves into the moment, and that's why walking in gym works wonders, because you allow yourself to do that. But I think if you can actually put yourself in that moment, that now, it does ease that negativity from the news around us, and hopefully have more of a kind of rounded view of what is actually ahead and what we actually do control and we don't control. But yes, the news is bad for your health. Did I say that? You're not sponsored by any news channel or anything. I'm not kind of. By the way, I'm sponsored by all.
I am not. No. I love that though. Focusing on what we can control, coming back to the present moment. There's no point steering about the past or worrying about the future because they're not right now. So all we can do is control our responses, right? So, yeah, really good advice. Do you want to talk a little bit about your 5-point happy formula?
Yeah, I'm quickly just pulling it for reference because I think I wrote this about a year ago. Now, in fairness, when I actually wrote this, I send out an email every Friday. That's just a plug, by the way. Every Friday, I send out my email, which you can subscribe on my website. And this
I'm
was.
going to give you cans for that at the end, Simon.
Oh, can you do it? Sorry. Right. Okay. Sorry. Right. And this one week, I wanted to put something out about the fact it'd been a really awful week. I think something had happened in the news, and there was just a general feeling of just negativity and doom and gloom, if you like. And I wanted to put something out about the fact that, you know, we control our happiness. We shouldn't allow others to control our happiness. And ultimately, it comes from ourselves. And when I started writing the blog post, there was like just a pattern started forming. And why I'm saying this is because you'll notice that there's 5 key words that I've focused on, which actually, when you look at them, the first letter, it all spells out happiness, or happy, sorry. But it never meant to be that way. And I didn't want it to be some kind of magic formula. I'm not some kind of scientist that says, hey, you know, follow this 5 happy rule and life will be wonderful, because it's not. It just kind of, this is how it happened. So H is for honesty. We've got to be honest with ourselves. We've got to be true to ourselves and understand what our strengths and weaknesses are, because only then can we look for the joy in what we do and be cautious in the stuff that we don't enjoy doing or that we're not good at. So that's honesty, about being honest with ourselves. Next, it's about appreciation. And again, it's about appreciating what we've done and what we do. I always say perfection is an illusion. So stop striving for it, because you're never going to reach it. So in terms of appreciation, instead of thinking, I could have done that better, and we all do this, I should have said, I should have done that better. It's about, actually, do you know what? I did a really good job. I did the best I could do. And if something's gone wrong, I'm going to learn by that for next time. But I'm not going to let it kind of overtake my mindset and really bring it down on me. So that's about appreciation. Next is purpose. Now, this is a funny one, because recently I've seen a lot of LinkedIn posts where people are kind of slating the concept of purpose. And, oh, you know, these gurus are saying we have to have a purpose in life. And if you don't, well, for me, purpose is really important, because purpose provides that guidance, that goal of what we want to achieve. Now, whether that's long-term or short-term. But when we have a purpose, we have an understanding as to why we do what we do. And that's when we find that joy, that happy place. And one of the big things that I'm seeing at the moment through my coaching, I coach you a lot of what I would say, I'm going to say mature managers who have got to a stage in their lives and their careers where suddenly they're thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't got long left before I'm actually retiring. And what's on the end of life? What exists after that? Ultimately, what is my purpose? And for me, it doesn't have to be something absolutely groundbreaking, amazing. It could be something that's going to carry you through for the next 3, 6, 12 months. But I think purpose is important. We've got to understand, why do we do what we do, and where the joy is that we get out of it. So that's our first P. Second P is passion. I'm a passionate person. I assume you are, Marie. You know, passion carries us through life. Where the joy and the fun stuff that we do is all around our passion. If we're passionate about something, we tend to do a better job than when we're not passionate about it. So for me, always be mindful of the things that really make you happy, the things that you're passionate about. Follow those dreams. And I do believe that if you do follow them, it almost resonates out that you get them. You know what I mean? It's kind of self-realization, I think it is. Really, really important. And then finally, the last we've got HAPP is why. And that is just basically you. And that's all about only you can make a difference. You can sit there all day and moan about the world. You can sit there all day and moan about your job. You can sit there all day and moan about the people you work with, or, you know, your employees. Only you can make a difference. So if you're unhappy, take action, do something about it. And even the smallest steps make a massive, massive difference. And that's my happy formula. So ultimately, just to recap, we've got honesty, appreciation, purpose, passion, and you. That's
Absolutely.
the magic formula,
I
which
love
just
it.
happened in the space of 5-10 minutes when I was writing a blog post one day. Yeah.
I love it. So easy to remember and so on point, and all like, super valid points. I think if we it's funny actually. I have this little happiness book that sits on my
Hey.
but yeah, the happy formula, absolutely amazing. If people want to find out more about your happiness formula, your teaching, your books, your training, your personal branding, and the myriad of wonderful things that you do, where can they go to find out more?
Okay, my website is marketingskillsacademy.co.uk. And you can buy my book from there. You can sign up to my newsletter, my Friday newsletter on there. Alternatively, I do hang out a lot on LinkedIn, as you well know. So it's Simon Clayton. I think the URL is Simon Clayton 1, because believe it or not, there's another Simon Clayton out there. But yes, exactly. That's what I thought. How dare. On LinkedIn. I also hang out on Instagram and Facebook, but generally LinkedIn is my primary social network. And yeah, I'm always happy to grab a coffee with somebody, or have a Zoom call, whatever's easiest. Relationships always start with a great conversation. So yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for sharing that. And one more question before you go. We do ask this to all of our guests, and that is, what is one way that you think employers can create a happy, healthy workplace in this kind of circumstance, in this year or in 2023? So what's going to make the biggest difference, do you think, in workplaces?
I think a big difference is going to be about being open and honest with your workforce, with your employees.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than Chinese whispers or rumors or, the way the human brain works is we perceptualize a lot. And a lot of that is based on negativity. It's safer to be in a negative thought process than in a positive process. So generally, when we hear something bad, we perceptualize the negative aspect of that. So for me, it's about it being open and honest, and just remembering that your people are the asset that makes your organization tick. Not your products, not your services, not your wonderful policies or procedures, but your people.
Couldn't agree more. What a wonderful way to finish. Thank
Did that
you
sound
so
okay?
much.
Good.
That sounded great. Thank you so much, Simon Clayton. Thanks for listening to the Key Wellbeing Podcast. Don't forget, we've got a whole library of free guides, toolkits, resources, and fortnightly lunchtime listens, just like this, with an epic lineup of guests, all to help you to create a healthy, happy workplace. Find it all on our website, www.keywellbeing.co.uk.